All right, everybody, welcome in. This is your Fielder's Choice. My name is Adam, also known at YFC Sports V12. I'm joined by Josh Salway at YFC Sports JSal10, guys. And it's the middle of the work week. As you can see, I'm not normally rocking my hat and my bourbon or beer or my beverage of choice. And we're here to talk a little bit about the WGC Dell Match play. Josh is going to be walking us through. And, sorry, guys, I know that we've not heard, from you or from us in a while. And, we wanted to put some content out there as sports are starting to ramp up. We have MLB around the corner, obviously. NBA, NHL is going hot. So be sure to check that out. You'll see in the comments, we are going to drop our Discord link. It is a free Discord for you to jump into the general chat. Obviously, the premium rooms where myself and Josh and other coaches from YFC are going to be hanging out, are going to be able to help you with all sports. I will be having some info out on our Discord regarding the soccer. The Euro qualifiers are coming up. Josh has been covering EuroLeague basketball. Obviously, we're covering all of the other major sports. College basketball, obviously, March Madness is hot right now, and seeing some great winners in there. I know I had a nice little 5K hit that was in there that, Pete had, actually Pete and Duff both have kind of helped out with. But yeah, that's a lot about what's going on at YFC, Josh, but we're here to talk about some golf and some Dell Match play. So I'm going to let you kind of lead us in there as I dump some stuff in the chat and I nod like I know really what's going on in regards to this. Okay.
Yeah. Sounds good, man. So like Adam said, we'll talk a little bit about the match play. So the first thing I want to mention is this is one of my favorite events of the year, right? We get something that's different than your typical PGA tournament. We get what I'd like to consider really the March Madness of golf. So what they do in the match play is they take essentially the top 64 ranked players minus some of the live guys, a few others, and group them into groups of four. So you got 16 groups of four. They kind of seed 1 through 16 and separate those, and then it's kind of randomized who falls in the cracks. And what they do is they play Wednesday through Friday. You'll play every person from your group in a sort of round robin 1v1 match play, and then the winners of the group move into Saturday, where they have essentially a 16-man single elimination tournament that runs through Sunday. So whoever wins this tournament and whoever even plays in the final will really play 7 rounds of golf in the next 5 days. So that's kind of a cool, exciting thing to see some guys play one-on-one. And what that really means from a DraftKings perspective and a strategy standpoint, the scoring is completely different. So you're not getting scores for birdies, pars. You're not losing points for bogeys. You don't get points for what place they come in, right? It's all completely different. Match play golf. They're giving you scoring based on holes won, holes halved, and then you'll lose points on holes lost. You get some points if you win a match and if you half a match. So in that round robin stage, they can tie. And then there's a few bonuses. I think if you win 3 holes consecutively, you get some bonus points. And then if you play a whole match and you don't actually lose a hole, get a couple of bonus points there.
Yeah, I think it's like 7.5 is if you don't lose the whole match. So that's actually pretty big.
Yeah, it's big. I mean, winning matches is key, right? I mean, I think the winning match bonus is +5, right? You're not getting points for where you finish. Right. So really, winning matches and if you can get away with 3 holes in a row or going a whole match without losing a hole, which is pretty tough, they can bump up your score quite a bit. But at the end of the day, you're not going to have 60 something guys making a cut. So there's only 16 guys that get out of that group stage. So that's just more golf, right? And that's the only way to get points, because you're not getting points for where you finish. It's strictly just playing holes, playing golf. So from that perspective, typically we look at our stats for the course and what makes sense, approach, driving, iron play, putting. We'll still talk a little bit briefly on that, but it also brings in the strategy of the groupings, right? I mean, we all pick an upset in March Madness for college basketball. You got 1 or 2 upsets you like, but at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get the correct 4 teams in the Final Four. And you really want to take the same approach with this. You don't want to pick, 2 of the top guys that happen to meet in the same quadrant, and there's no chance they both make it to the Final Four, right? You don't want to have 4 players all from one quarter of the bracket. So realistically, are you going to get all 4 Final Four players right? Probably not. Just like in your brackets, most of you probably had Purdue. They're gone. So if you can get 2 of those guys in the Final Four, you're in really good shape. So like I said, that kind of brings into strategy. Some players got tougher draws than others. You really just want to look at the path to like the Elite Eight, the Final Four, and see a viable path with the guys that you're picking.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I think one thing too to mention is if you guys are frequently playing golf and you don't really follow, you obviously lock your stuff in. You're spending that Wednesday night dialing your lineups. You're already too late. This starts on Wednesday, so you need to get going today and then make sure everything's done. So you don't miss the lock on the contest. I would expect that we're going to see some really maybe more than normal, the contest either being better or bigger or more participated in regards to the showdown slates, because it does seem like, it kind of gives you a nice little, a recycle of players. And, if you're already, hey, my bracket's busted, then you can still apply this same knowledge you're going to tell us today and the things that you're going to bring up towards the rest of the tournament, because it's still going to be in play. So all that being said, Josh, so kind of walk us through really what we need to know.
Yeah, so they play at Austin Country Club in Austin, Texas. They're gonna it's a par 71, a little over 7,100 yards, so not particularly long. It is a Pete Dye course, so like your TPC, Sawgrass, some of your tougher courses, but it doesn't play extremely hard. Birdies can be made. So with that, what you're looking at approach play and gaining strokes on the approach and gaining strokes on the green, right? If you don't need a ton of length, your guys who can dial it in with irons and putt, they're going to be good here. And then in a match play style event, right, just going out and getting pars, every hole, maybe you're hanging in there, but you really want guys that can go after and get birdies, right? So I pulled up a stat this week I hadn't looked at in a couple of weeks, and that's birdie or better percentage, right? I don't care if a guy gets a bogey every fourth hole. If he gets 3 birdies in between, you're going to win the match play, right? A guy can have a horrible hole, but it's just one hole. That's how match play works. So it's great. And I am going to look a little bit at strokes gained off the tee. I think a lot of people will ignore that, but I think there's value in hitting a further drive in the fairway and seeing what your opponent does with an approach shot and then planning out what you're going to do, right? If your opponent shanks it into a bunker, maybe you don't go flag hunting. Maybe you throw it in the middle, 2-putt for a par, knowing your opponent's probably going to get a bogey. So I think there's value to be had there.
Yeah. So obviously being risk adverse, you do want to take some shots, but like you said, these guys are going to know what's going on. They're there to beat that opponent. So, okay. Yep. All that being said, there's some nice guys up top, and we're seeing a few, obviously some live guys who are not going to be there, but tell us about the field. Tell us about the guys up top. Who are you targeting?
Yeah, so top of the board, highest priced player, Scotty Scheffler, 11,100 on DraftKings. He won last year. He won this event last year, and he lost in the finals the year before. So he's been dominant here. It's been played at Austin, so he's good at the course. He's clearly good in match play events. I think he's like 11-2-2 lifetime in singles match play events. So just a dominant player, right? He's the number 1 player in the world right now. He's number 1 in strokes gained off the tee, 5th in birdie or better percentage, 7th in strokes gained approach. He's great. He's my favorite play to win. He got pretty fortunate with the drawing. I think he's in a group with Tom Kim, Alex Noren, and maybe Davis Riley. Yeah. So yeah, I think he got a nice fortunate draw. It's pretty easy to see another path to a Final Four with someone who's just been dominant. So I like Scotty at the top. It's expensive, but he probably pays off. And then right below him, right, John Rahm. Rahm's interesting. He withdrew from his last tournament to Players with the stomach bug. That's something that there's no concerns about, right? He's obviously clearly over that. Statistically speaking at this course, Rahm probably grades out the best in terms of straight stats. You're talking about a guy who's number 1 in birdie or better percentage, 5th in approach, 11th in putting, 13th around the green. So a top player, right? And him being the number 2, he's on the opposite side of the bracket from Scheffler. So in an ideal world, Scheffler and Rahm would be playing in the finals, which would be awesome for all of us.
His group's a little tougher, though, I think.
That's the only caveat with Rahm. He will probably have he won't have as easy of a path getting out of his first group as Scheffler, right? He's got Ricky Fowler, who's, resurgent, been playing awesome. Keith Mitchell, who's been playing really well. And Billy Horschel won this 2 years ago. Horschel beat Scheffler in the finals in 21. So that's a tough group. He got a bit of a tough draw. I still like him to come out of the group. Obviously, he's awesome. And I think his next round wouldn't be super challenging. If you're having to pick between both, if you don't want to squeeze 2 11K guys in, I do lean Scheffler. But I think Rahm would get you maybe more of that GPP build, because I think people may veer away from that first group. But Rahm is the best golfer in his group. It's just more of a challenge there. So
Yeah, for sure.
And working my way down to bottom of what I consider high price, I right around 9K is Tyrrell Hatton. He's a guy I really like. He had a really good draw. He's playing well. He's got 2 top fives in his last 2 starts. He's got 4 top 10s in his last 6. This is a guy who's top 10 in strokes gained approach and strokes gained off the tee. He's also top 20 in putting and birdie or better percentage. So this is a complete player who's playing really, really, really good golf right now. He's in a group with Russell Henley, Lucas Herbert, and Ben Griffin. All are fine. None are real intimidating, right? None of those guys are playing on the level that Hatton's playing on right now. And also a good amount of experience, right? He's played here a fair amount. He's 12, 10, and 2 lifetime in singles match play. He's played as well for, some of the European tournaments they play in as well.
Right.
I guess if you're looking at one downside, he would potentially play Rory's group in the round of 16 if Rory does come out of it. But Rory's been struggling, right? We haven't really seen vintage Rory McIlroy yet. So I really like Hatton here for his price at 9K. There's a lot of guys higher than him that you may like more, but are probably in tougher groups just to get out of. So
yeah, I definitely like him and Zalatoris, which are like right there price wise. So.
Yeah, and I will give a shout out. He's really pricey. Having Cantlay being the 3rd highest priced golfer over Rory and Xander and some of these other guys is crazy. But I do think Cantlay comes out of his quadrant. I can see an easy path for Cantlay into the Final Four. It's him and Homa are probably the 2 guys in that quarter of the bracket. And I think they're both viable. Obviously, don't play them both because they'll face each other at some point if they keep winning. Right. But I like Cantlay a lot. And then last I'll mention, if you do fade Rahm, I'm not opposed to Tony Finau in that bottom bracket. Tony hasn't had the most success, I would say, at this tournament. He is 6, 7, and 2, but he's played a lot. He's playing really well. He's 3rd at birdie or better percentage. I think if you don't play Rahm in that bottom bracket, I think there's a GPP interest appeal in grabbing a guy like Tony Finau and saving, $1,400 in DraftKings.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a big Finau fan now. I think after Full Swing came out, on Netflix, I think everybody loves Tony now, and and a couple of those other guys that were on there. But yeah, I mean, I'm more looking at the brackets obviously right now. That's what I'm kind of just digging into. But yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying because I mean, like you said, it's when you're lineup building, you're gonna probably be switching around some things, moving some stuff, in regards to salary, and then it's like, man, wait a second, I got everybody on this side of the bracket. Then you're going to run into some issues, right? So, you have to be aware of that for sure. All right, so what else are you looking at?
Yeah, so moving down into the 8K range, and the first thing I'll mention is in a tournament like this, I think taking a balanced build is hard to do. I think it's definitely a GPP approach. I think it's really easy to go get 3 bigger top guys and then just go value hunting. That just being most of these mid-range guys are going to be in a group with one of those 9K plus guys, right? So you're betting on them to beat them out. But there are a couple guys I'd look at. I think Tommy Fleetwood is interesting. He's coming off a good win. He's 8,300. He's in a group with Sung Jae Im, I think JT Poston, Maverick McNeely. So I think that's a winnable group. He would potentially face Scheffler in the first round of 16. Right. But he's right around that price where maybe just winning the group gets you the value you need, in that low 8 range. Contrary to what I mentioned about playing Finau if you fade Rahm, if you fade Scheffler, I don't have a problem coming after like a Tommy Fleetwood, right? If you think Scheffler falls, then you can see it for Tommy. So I think Tommy's an interesting mid-range play. And then we speak of the Rahm group. So probably my favorite contrarian GPP play is Ricky Fowler. I know Ricky and Rahm play tomorrow, so that'll be a fun matchup on the first day of the thing. But Ricky's playing out of his mind right now. He's pretty much back to what we were used to seeing with him. He's 11th with irons. I mean, that's pretty elite. He's 12th, I think, and 12th in birdie or better percentage. So he's a guy that's getting a lot of birdies. Ricky is that player that can roll a lot of birdies, and then you worry about his double bogeys. But in match play, that doesn't hurt you as much, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I love Ricky as a GPP play. If you fade Rahm, obviously there's a ton of risk involved. Even just beating Rahm, there's still Keith Mitchell and Billy Horschel. But I think if he escapes that group, it's kind of an easier path to see him, sneak his way into that Elite 8. At his price would be a steal. And Ricky is a guy that does have a ton of experience in match play. He's had good experience here. He's 12-8-5, between the, Ryder Cup, playing against Europe as well as playing at this match play event. A lot of experience. So I think Ricky's a really nice GPP play.
Okay.
And then I'll work my way down. I list one more guy that I kind of consider mid-range. That's only because I draw my line around 7,500 or so. But Minwoo Lee is 7,600. He's a name people probably aren't super familiar with, but he just finished 6th at the Players. He was on the World Tour. He had a couple top 10s, so he's pretty well known outside of the PGA Tour. But he's played 3 starts now, and like I said, finishing 6th. So he's got an interesting group. So he's in a group with Matt Fitzpatrick, Theegala, and JJ Spawn. I think this group is wide open. Fitzpatrick has been battling injuries, just hasn't.
Something with his neck, right?
Neck and back. So, I'm not sold on Fitzpatrick. Theegala is about as streaky of a player as they come. So at 7,600, you're really just looking for him to win the group. And if he wins this group, he can lose in the first round. You're probably getting your value there.
Right.
So I think he's interesting. At the Players, he was the 3rd best putter and the 7th best player off the tee.
Right.
And he did play here last year. So he's played at this course. He went 1-1-1. So he's got a little bit of experience here. So I do think I think he's in play, and not just GPP wise. I would not be surprised to see him win his group. I think there's some sports books out there you can bet on guys to win groups. I wouldn't mind sprinkling a bit on Minwoo Lee to win that group. So he's in.
Yeah, he's a long shot to win the whole thing, but I think coming out of that group is very, very doable, especially because Fitzpatrick, he's a smaller guy, and he's got to be like in just complete shape. I mean, he can't really lose a whole lot, right? The guy hits the ball a mile for his size, but he's like, who am I to compare? But I mean, playing golf, your neck and your back, those are the 2 things, man. If anything's off, it's real tough. It's tough,
yeah. And then I'll mention another mid-range, and then I'll hit like 2 value picks before we wrap it up. But I think Tom Hoagie's interesting. It's a tough group. I think Hoagie's in the group with Xander Schauffele, Aaron Wise, Cam Davis. I'm a big Xander fan, but I don't think he's advanced out of the group stage in like 3 or 4 tries here. So maybe it's not the best matchup. I think he's 6'5" and 3 lifetime, so nothing crazy. So and Hoagie is the number 1 iron player on tour. He's number 1 in strokes gained approach. So I think he's an interesting GPP play at his price.
Okay.
For value, so this is probably where you're really starting to look. Right? You're trying to squeeze those top guys in, so you want to know who you can go after. Seamus Power is 7,200 on DraftKings. I don't think that he's underpriced, but I think if you see what he's done last year and kind of the group he's in, it seems too cheap. So he's in a group with Sam Burns, Adam Scott, and Adam Hadwin, none of which are bad, none of which scare me too much, right? I mean, in reality, you'd think Sam Burns would be good, but he's Sam Burns, so you don't know who you're going to get. And Power last year got to the Elite 8. He beat Sung Jae Im, Tyrrell Hatton, and Patrick Cantlay on his way to get into the Elite 8. And in the Elite 8, he lost to Scheffler, who won. So this is a guy who's played this tournament, this style of play here, and beaten some pretty big names. So 7,200, all he has to do is come out of that group of Burns, Scott, and Hadwin, and you're getting great value.
He's got three top 25s that I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, he's 13th in birdie or better percentage. He's a great putter. Similar to like what I said with some other players, he can drop some strokes on a normal shot, but he gets birdies, and that's what you're looking for here. You don't care about one blow up hole because it's just one hole. So I think he's really interesting. I think he's well priced. And then I want to talk about down at the very bottom, and this is dirt cheap. Mackenzie Hughes is 6,100. He's in a group with Jordan Spieth, Shane Lowry, and Taylor Montgomery. I actually think any one of them, those 4 can win the group. Obviously, Spieth is the favorite. He's been playing well. He hasn't been real solid at this event. And Shane Lowry, another guy who's a good golfer, but once again, not a lot of success. Taylor Montgomery's making his first appearance. He's an awesome putter, but Mackenzie Hughes has a great short game in his own right. So I think Mackenzie Hughes, if you need someone down at the bottom, I think he's a good play. He was, he was 4-2-1 at this event. He actually won his group 2 years ago, almost won last year. He beat Max Homa, Matt Wolf 2 years ago, and he won his group. So success here. I get why he's, priced lower, but I think him being the minimum is crazy to me, just in the fact that he came into a group that to me is winnable, and he has good experience here. So I think he's a great target down there.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier, and I'm kind of looking at him now. I'm looking at some stuff on it, but Maverick McNeely in his group. If you can get, depending on what happens in regards to, obviously, he's not on a great side of the bracket, but for his price and everything like that, I feel like Fleetwood would almost be more of a tougher matchup than him, but. He's he's down there too. I definitely like the call of going all the way down to Mackenzie Hughes because a lot of builds are going to just
it just opens up a lot for you. Yeah,
absolutely.
And, I'll mention another 6,100 that I'm not opposed to as well.
Okay.
So Sepp Straka comes in at the same price. Sepp, he's 1-2. He's only played here 1 year. His one win was against Will Zalatoris, so it's a pretty good win. His group is interesting. He's in a group with Cameron Young, Corey Connors, and Davis Thompson. So I think that's a winnable group. He's obviously not the favorite, but I don't think there's one player to me. I don't know that I view Cameron Young as a dominant player in that group. He'd face Rahm in the next round, but once again, we're just looking at group play at 6,100. If he comes out of his group, I think he's interesting. And then the last thing I do want to mention is if you are going to fade Rory McIlroy, I think Denny McCarthy is too cheap. He's 6,900, and I really think he's only 6,900 because he is in a group with Rory. But McCarthy's one of the best putters on tour. He's been playing really solid. If Rory keeps playing the way he's been playing, that group could open up. I think Denny McCarthy has an interesting shot there, and he is 6,900 as well. So nothing that's going to break the bank. Not going to hurt you too much if things don't go your way.
I always hate going against Rory, but I do think this is if you're gonna fade Rory, this is the type of format that you could definitely do it in. So.
Yeah, I've been saying Rory, he's been struggling all this, so he'll probably win. But
yeah, exactly. Gotta play at least a one Rory line, no matter what.
So. But that's Rory, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. But anyway, you mentioned in the Discord and the premium, so I'll have an article out, and I talk about a few more players, dive in a little bit deeper in the brackets, the rankings and stuff. So if you guys jump on the Discord and join the premium group, you'll have access to all of that as well.
Perfect, man. Well, hey guys, listen, jump in the Discord. It's free. Check us out, www.yourfielderschoice.com. We're one of the best value prices in the business. Obviously, the content and the Discord, anything that you're going to be getting out there is going to be directly from coaches that are playing alongside you. You'll see it in the winning lineup stream, which is something I definitely want to mention to kind of see, what people are doing. And right now, I would say that, golf, EuroLeague, college basketball, soccer, things that are more of a niche sport outside the mainstream is really where we're going to be dominant because there's not a ton of access out there. There's not a ton of information. So if you're checking us out for the first time, welcome in. We appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up, the like and subscribe, and the bell for notifications. And as always, like I said, just try the Discord out, see what you like. Feel free to reach out to myself or Josh. We have our Twitter handles below. But Josh, man, I appreciate it. I know you've been putting in, the work there in the Discord. Obviously, Prize Picks is something that you also, like to play and participate in a lot. So we'll be looking for some really cool things in there. And the Prize Picks room is free, or is it premium right now?
Right. Yeah, it's free now. So
okay. Awesome.
Yeah, there'll be some stuff too. I think Prize Picks will put out some stuff with specific matchups, like daily matchups and things. So there may be an edge there that we'll have to see once they drop those matchups.
All right, love it, man. All right, well, I'm going to be relying on you for my golf knowledge for DraftKings this week. So I got some money burning a hole in my pocket or in my account. But yeah, guys, like I said, thank you for joining us today. This is WGC Dell Match Play 2023 coverage. We're focusing on DraftKings. Obviously, we can help you out if you have questions in regards to FanDuel, Prize Picks as well, and any other betting advice or info. You can be sure to reach out to my man Josh on there. Josh, I appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time out. And as always, like I said, www.yourfielderschoice.com. My name is Adam at YFC Sports V12. Thankful to Josh at YFC Sports JSal10. Josh, you have a good day, buddy.
Thanks, man. You too.